Now, whenever we talk about the advertising objective, let's take a moment to first understand what is this objective all about. The data collection is very important for each one of us to understand what is that we are going to collect from the people, what is that they're looking for. It helps you to judge the consumer behavior. It also helps you to understand what is the change in attitude. Good morning and welcome to the first session, Unit 5, 6th semester BBA, Advertising and Media Management, where we're going to speak about the measuring of effectiveness. Now, the criteria to measure the effectiveness of advertising starts with the objective, goes to the message, the media, that means the type of media, the media strategies, research, budget, and then comes the decision making. Now, whenever we talk about the advertising objective, let's take a moment to first understand what is this objective all about. What is the purpose for which you are doing the advertisement? That is very important for all of us to know. Why? Because whenever we are looking at the advertising objective, what we are trying to understand here is where is the objective coming from? What is the real factor for bringing this particular ad? Now, let's say that it's going to be an ad about Pepsi, it's going to be an ad about Amul butter, or it's going to be an ad about a Lux soap. You need to understand what is the purpose of launching that ad, followed by the message, what kind of words, what is the content that you are sending it towards to the people there. So that means to say that each and every word needs to be measured before you launch it. Followed by the type of media, the social media, or you're going through the normal TV channels, the paper media, the radio, what kind of media are you utilizing there? And the strategies that follow with that media, with the quite an amount of research that is needed. Why? Because every part of the advertisement needs to be researched, needs to be understood before you start making a decision out there. Followed by which the planning, data collection, data analysis, interpretation, feedback, use of application and follow-up, and sustainability. Now, the evaluation is quite simple. What we do in the evaluation stage is that we first plan out on the media aspect, which means to say that first, let us try to understand what kind of advertisement budget that we need to form here. Now, we need to understand that sometimes when we are doing this budget planning, many a times, you might be seeing that the budget is working out in a different way, in a different angle altogether. Sometimes you might be seeing that we are planning for a very big scheme of advertisement or a scale of the advertisement budget to happen, but then the media does not come out so well. Or you might be planning for a launch of a very simple product, but then what is going to happen is that you are not getting the right appropriate stage for that. So first thing is that we have to plan as in what kind of advertisement are you looking for. The second one is data collection. Now, data collection is not just for the research purpose or a questionnaire purpose here. The data collection is very important for each one of us to understand what is that we are going to collect from the people, what is that they're looking for. When you target a group of audience and you tell them that this is what we are doing as a part of an advertisement, they need to be told very clearly what is that they are looking into. Now, for example, there might be times when people might be looking into some sort of analysis. They might be looking into some sort of a bounce back. They might be looking for data which is based on income, or they're based on certain factors like what kind of product, how should be a relaunch. So when you're doing that data collection, the collection has to be very, very appropriate so that you are able to analyze that data and tell here how things are moving. Now, the interpretation and reporting is not something we are just going to write it in mere English, but rather the interpretation and reporting is something where you are trying to understand what exactly needs to go in. Now, when you interpret a scenario, you see that this is the kind of advertisement the people are loving. So you need to come up with that kind of an interpretation. You need to come up with that kind of a factor altogether. Now, from there, you will start coming into feedback and iteration. You have to continuously start giving feedbacks, iterate the entire process so that the advertisement keeps on going up better and better every time, followed by the application and the usage factor. Now, you need to see that whether the application is appropriate, you're using the right kind of apps, you're using the right kind of ideology to get there, followed by the sustainability factor. Why? Because sustainability is very important in the modern days. Many people think that advertising can be done as a one-time stand and then, you get a complete impression. Definitely not. Advertisement is a repetitive exercise, and unless and until you make it a habit in terms of reaching the minds of people, connecting with them, and making them understand the need for the product or service in your daily walk of life, advertisement cannot become effective. So it's very, very important that you sustain for a longer period, and then only the product also sustains. Today, when you look into a product like Vicks, or when you look into Lifebuoy, or you look into Hammam soap or Dettol, they have been in the minds of people because the product has also sustained for so many years. They have been serving the purpose for what the people are looking into. So that's how sustainability plays a very, very important role today. Followed by which, let's get into the types of advertising research. One is the pre-testing advertising, another one is the post-testing advertising research. Now, whenever I use the word pre-testing, that means to say that testing that is being done before the launch of the product. Now, that is very important for each one of us to know today. Why? Because whenever I say the word pre-testing, that means I am trying to understand the scenario effectively, how it was before the launch of the product. Now, many people think that pre-testing is all about just trying to get onto the field, trying to make an impression, run a trailer kind of thing. But then pre-testing is something where you are going to actually measure the impact in terms of how it could be, where could be the reach. Are we really trying to satisfy our customers? The post-testing advertisement is even more important. Why? Because once the advertisement is on the air, it is launched and it is made popular, regular onto the screens, onto the papers and the different channels, you need to continuously monitor the effectiveness of the advertisement. In what way the advertisement is serving the purpose. Because people think many times that advertisement is launched, people will keep looking into it. Definitely not. Why? Because many times people might feel that the advertisement is not relevant. I might just flip over the page, I might just turn it over, or I might just disable the pops. So what I'm trying to do here is that post-testing of the advertisement is very important, because I want to understand where exactly the problem is and how exactly it needs to be done. Now, the pre-testing, to select the optimal commercial for media placement, to do that specific components of ads that needs to be looked into, to determine the optimal advertisement. Whenever I'm using this word optimal advertisement, I am trying to look in for certain features which are very, very important for me. Why? Because the word optimal advertisement makes a whole lot of difference here. Optimal advertising is not just about going about telling people that this is the best, but this is about making the best use of resources that have been given and serving the right purpose so that you are able to get the right kind of advertising done here. So this is very, very important for all of us to understand. Followed by which, the pre-testing advantages is that it's quite simple. It helps you to save time. Definitely, it is much more cheaper than going for the post-test. Why? Because you would have checked already the cost effectiveness. It results in very, very effective communication. It also helps you to minimize the waste in advertising, so you don't have to keep on looking for the advertisement again and again. It helps the advertisers to judge the actual response to the target audience. That's very important in the modern day life. Why? Because what people are looking and what you are focusing matters a lot when it comes to this advertisement part. It helps you to check the errors such as clerical, grammatical, printing, technical rate, all kinds of errors can be looked into it. So that is very, very important, that you can save a lot of time and money in that. So this makes a huge difference altogether here. Now, moving further, the post-testing, the most important thing that anybody loves to talk about in the modern world is the brand image. How strong is the image of the product in the minds of the consumer? This is a billion-dollar question, rather, I would like to say. Why? Because the brand speaks a lot for itself. Today, whatever might be the condition, but if your brand is not standing for a purpose, it's not sustaining for what it has been created, then the image goes off. And that's where exactly the consumer turns you down. So that's exactly where consumer make or a break decision comes into picture. So the consumer feels that at some point of time, the decision is made because the brand exists and the brand creates an emotional touch with me. So if the emotional touch is somewhere disconnected, it throws me off, the preference of the customer is lost. So that's why it is very important for all of us that we still keep in touch with the brand image, we maintain it. Now, if you look into Bisleri as a mineral water, the aim of Bisleri was quite simple. It never went into too much of advertisement trying to promote itself because the purpose was very clear. The ideology was to just provide a clear drinking water to the consumer at various rates. Now, it had a 250 ml, 500 or a 1 liter or a 2 liter or a 5 liter, whatever might be the capacity. It had a price list for that, and the objective was very clear that you provide plain drinking water to the people. So the brand was so strong that anytime anybody sees a green wrapper around the bottle, immediate connectivity is towards that word Bisleri. But then people have used different names altogether. That's chapter 2. But point number 1 is that Bisleri could tag itself with that green color and the image so impressive in the minds of people that even now, when you talk about Bisleri as a mineral water, I think there is no dispute in that sector. Now, followed by which it helps you to judge the consumer behavior. It also helps you to understand what is the change in attitude. So moment the product changes, the factors, the values changes, automatically the attitude of the customer will also change. So it is very important for each one of us to understand how the consumer behavior is changing with that of the advertisement. With this, I come to the end of this particular session. I hope and believe that all the points that I have spoken here would have been of great help to you, both in terms of theory as well as in the practical walk of life. In the upcoming session, we would be talking more about the effectiveness of ads and its measurement standards. Until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me today on this particular session.